In this video, we're going to discuss, should you keep your ugly art? Hi, I'm Denver Shai and welcome to the Shai Creative. First of all, I want to clarify what I mean by ugly art. Think about the times when you've done a drawing, you've done a painting, and everything seemed to be going well. Then when you stopped, you step back, you look at it and you go, what the hell is that? It doesn't even look like anything that you created. It doesn't even look like anything that you're trying to draw. It's just wrong. Everything about it, no matter how you look at it, you just really hate it. Some of the reasons for not keeping your ugly art could be a lack of space. I have this room. It's the only space I've got to keep any artwork I create. Every single piece of material and equipment for my art, my photography, no matter what it is, this is the space I've got. It's limited. I don't have the luxury of just gathering more and more stuff. There was something that I wanted to buy this week and I just couldn't because I just don't have the space or anywhere to put it. So imagine that you've got all your sketchbooks, those notebooks, and there comes a point where you just don't have the shelf space anymore. So that's one reason that you may choose not to keep it, because you simply cannot cater for it any further. I mean, you might have a loft that you could put things in, but comes a point where you've just got to say, I have to make room and something has got to go. You may have created a piece of work at a time when you were going through some emotional trauma, some distress. It was just a really rough time. And you were using your artwork as a way of working through that, getting you through it, because that is the wonderful thing about being a creative, about being an artist. It can help you work through things that sometimes you just don't know what to do with. And now you're on the other side of that. You may decide, actually, I just don't want to look at that anymore. It's done its job. It's helped me through that point in my life. Now I can just simply let it go. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes I have a piece of work and it was created at a time when things weren't quite so great and I just don't need the memory. It's done its job, so now I can let it go. So it may be a mix of you no longer have the space and actually the work has done its job for you. You're on the other side of that trauma, that pain, that hurt. That may be a reason you choose to let it go. But what about reasons for keeping your ugly art? Why should we hold on to that artwork that we just think,
oh my God, what was I thinking?
Because we all need reminders of where we started. Sometimes you will look at your work now and you can forget where you started. You can see your work in this present moment, but know where you want to take it. You know how much further you have to grow or where you want to go with it. But if you don't have a record of where you've been before, it can be really easy to forget where you started because you've only got this present reference point. Sometimes we try and look back and remember something we've done previously, but we don't really remember all the details. It's not possible to just remember all the intricate little details about something you did previously. But if you still have it, and you can look at that piece of work, you can look at what you've done now, and you can actually see your growth. You can see what's changed, how you've developed, how you've moved forward. Maybe you've taken a different direction. So that can be one reason for keeping your ugly art. It's a really good reminder of where you've been and where you are now. Keep the ones you want to learn from. Maybe you're a painter and you're really struggling with light and shadow or tone and hue and making sure that your paints aren't muddied and you're just getting those colours mixed up and you just don't get it. And you've done your painting and next thing you know, you look at an area and you think, that bit's standing out. I just don't understand why that bit seems to be coming forward while the rest of it seems to be going further back. You've just got things mixed up and it's just not quite right. But if you have some work now, it can be a perfect reminder, as I said before, of where you've been to where you are now. It can show you where you have grown, all those intricacies about your skills and your development. Another reason for keeping your ugly art is because it can help you shed the idea of perfection. everything has to be perfect. When you've created something and you think, flipping it, that's just awful, I really don't like this, and you reach a point where you want to throw it out. When I'm doing my drawings, I often reach a point where I think, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing, this just isn't working, why can't I get this bit right? And then I get over that hump. It's the strangest thing. I always seem to get on the other side. But if I tear it up when at that point where I don't think it's working, if I tear it up then I can't get to the other side. I'll not know if I actually achieved creating the piece that I wanted to create. I've not given myself a chance because I'm always aiming for that bit of perfection. But the moment you learn to let that go, suddenly there's this freedom that you feel when you're creating and when you're working. When you look at the work of other people and it all just looks so perfect and wonderful, when you're looking at their work and comparing it to yours, it can be really easy to think that you're never going to be good enough. But the moment you just turn that aside and you say, do you know what, this isn't about being perfect. This is my journey. This is my growth. This is where I want to go. This is where I want to reach. And I'm just going to enjoy it. The day will come when you shed the idea of perfection. Take my writing, for example. I'm working on my novel, and no matter how many times I edit a piece of work, I edit a chapter, no matter what I do, even when I think that chapter's done, I can look at it later and I think, oh yeah, that could be better. Oh, I don't like that bit of dialogue. I'm going to change that. Oh my God, I've got a better description for that scene. It does not matter how many times I edit that piece of work. There is always more that I could do. I always end up looking at it and thinking, oh yeah, that could be better. This could be better. But there comes a point where you've got to stop and say, that'll do. That is my best right now in this moment. And let it go, because you can always improve and just keep improving. And if you keep doing that with that same piece that you're working on, you just never get it out. It will never be finished. There's always something in there that you can work on and make better. And it's just how it is. I can look at work that I've done 6 months ago, a year ago, even 2 weeks ago, and I can already see where it can be improved. So learning to shed that idea of being perfect, it's got to be perfect straight away. Once you're able to let that go, and it does take time, that does take time. There is a place that you reach where you know you've got to get over that. The moment you reach that point, then you know, okay, I'm going forward. I can finish that piece and now I can just keep going forward. Otherwise, you'll just never get anything out because you're always improving it and it's never perfect. We never feel like our work is perfect because there's always something more we could do. Shed that idea of perfection and suddenly there's a freedom in that. Another reason for keeping your ugly art is because, as I've said before, you are on a journey. When I look at how I started drawing, the way I draw now is different from where I started. I certainly don't draw in the same way. I don't approach my art in the same way. I certainly don't have the same mental attitude to it as I did before. I've drawn all sorts of things, but now I've found that for me, I love drawing the figure and I'm really happy with that. And anyone who's ever drawn the figure will know you always reach a point where you're like,
Oh my God, this is horrible. What the hell is wrong with that head? Look at that hand. Where is that going? Oh my God, they've got one leg longer than the other. This just isn't working. The human body is a nightmare and I just can't draw it.
But it's a journey and your taste change, your attitude changes, your beliefs about your work changes. It is, and I'm gonna keep saying it, and I will say it many more times. You are on a journey. You reach a destination with your artwork, so learning to draw hands. Now I can draw hands really well in any position, holding anything, whether the fingers are all curled up or in a really weird angle, it doesn't matter. I'm really good and I can do that. Well, that's not the end game. That's not everything. Now I'll move on to another part. I'll come up with another way that I want to draw the figure, or there's another way that I want to incorporate something else perhaps in my work. Another reason for keeping your ugly art is because it's a record of your journey. So when you do look back at where you've been, you can say, yeah, it changed. I changed medium. I changed the style of composition that I put together. I changed the format. You know, you may have just done square paintings or drawings, but now they're more portrait, or they're more landscape, or maybe they're just a really weird shape. But it's what you love. Keeping a record of where you've been is a little bit like keeping a record. Now, in fairness, I must admit I haven't kept any of mine. It's a bit like keeping the record of your school reports. And you can read all the things that your teachers said about you. And often a lot of them they've got wrong, because now you are much further in life than they thought you would be. And sometimes it's really good to keep the things that perhaps didn't work for you previously, but now you look and you think, oh my God, I'm flipping awesome, because I am further than even I thought I could reach. Keeping your ugly art isn't about keeping a record of failures. It's not that at all. Keeping it is a record of your journey, of your growth, of your changing tastes, of the way you have grown as a person, because your art will grow with you, or you will grow with your art. You know, it's a way of keeping a record of just how far you've come. It really is a wonderful experience to see that journey and be a part of that. I will share my sketchbooks with you. I don't even know why I keep promising that. I keep saying I'm going to do it and I just don't do it. Because I've got ugly art and I want people to see my ugly art. I don't even want to look at my ugly art. But I will share my ugly art with you, because when I look at that and I look at where I am now, I can see the gaps in my work, because that's the other thing. Your ugly art and where you are now, you will still see those gaps. You will definitely see where you can improve. You can't do everything. You just can't do it all. You have to focus on one thing, a couple of things, whether it's perspective and your line work, things that you want to drill down on, because gosh, there is just so much you could do. But when you keep a record, and that's what your ugly art is, it's a record. It shows you where you've been and where you want to go. One point I'd like to make about the ugly art, actually, which I almost forgot about, and I've just been reminded. What you call ugly, other people may love, other people may like, other people may appreciate and may want. It isn't about perfection, it's what your idea of your artwork being perfect is. Doesn't matter whether someone else says, oh, that's not perfect, that's not right, that's not right. We could all come up with reasons why somebody else's artwork isn't right. But what do you feel about your artwork? What do you feel about the work you created previously to what you've created now? Where do you want to take it? Are you throwing out all that work you created previously because you don't want people to see it? I really would recommend keeping some of it. Not all, because you just don't have the space. But I really would recommend keeping some of it so you have a record of your journey. Once you lose that, you can never get it back. And the other thing is, it's something that you can show others when they look at where you are now and are like, oh my God, your work is brilliant. Well, actually, I didn't start this way. I want you to see where I've been. This is my journey. So don't think your ugly art is something that is not worth keeping. It absolutely is. And there's nothing wrong with having work that's not perfect, whatever perfect really means. Every time I hear that word, I do think, what does that even mean? What does perfect mean? Perfect is whatever it means to you, whatever it means to me, because you're the one creating that artwork. Learn from the work that you've created previously and use it to spur you forward. Use it to find the gaps in where you are now. I would highly recommend keeping some of it, because you don't want to erase that. It's a bit like getting rid of photographs of when you were at school and you had, like, I don't know, big thick glasses and a really awful bowl haircut or something, I don't know. Whatever you really don't want to remember when you were at school. It's a bit like getting rid of those photos. You don't get rid of them because you look back at the person you were. It's just the same as with your art now. That's where you were, this is where you are now. And as long as you have targeted drawing practice, As long as you know what you are working on and what you want to improve rather than generalizing, you will look back at where you are in this moment and then you will see how much further you've grown again. So keep some of that ugly art. It's a record, it's a journal for your growth as an artist. If this video has encouraged you and inspired you to rethink your ugly art, do like, do subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.